If you don't know where your money is going and why, then guess what? You are just gambling.
Right. And this is just a lack of understanding. And the way we understand better is to get more information. So one thing that keeps the doctor away is an apple a day. One thing that keeps broke away is information. So if you read a page a day on whatever you're trying to invest in, that's going to keep you in a good financial awareness of what your money is actually doing, because the last thing we want to do is play Russian roulette with our funds.
No, we don't. So we have to give every dollar a job, Wealth Nation. That is exactly what we need to do, because if we don't understand why $1 went somewhere or $2 went somewhere, going back to the point that I made as we opened up this video, you are just gambling. And understanding how we gamble, right? We're just throwing money away. That's exactly what happens with our expenses every single month, every single week as we spend money, if we do not give every dollar a job.
Right. And that assigns purpose to your money, be it growth, be it security, be it income. When you're able to give every dollar, assign every dollar its purpose, then you're giving it direction. Because let's think about it. Every dollar that comes into our life, it has been directed there because of the work or labor that we've transacted in order to get those funds.
Totally.
So that job, that dollar came into your life for a purpose in the beginning. Now that it's in our possession, we have to do the same thing.
You know what? I think you're talking about intention. I think we're talking about intention.
Yeah.
Because if we are intentional with our actions, that means we're going to get results with intention. So if we invest randomly or haphazardly, guess what our results are going to be?
Random and haphazard.
All over the place. A hot mess.
Right.
That's what we like to call a hot mess. So with intention, if we're giving every dollar a job, we need to be intentional with what's happening with our expenses, because I guarantee you, family, that the wealthiest families, that the largest corporations are giving every dollar a job. Why? Because they can continue to stay in business. And we could actually see that with COVID. COVID was a huge opportunity for us to recognize what businesses were giving every dollar a job, because they're either here today or gone tomorrow. How many businesses have not come back since COVID, right? Our neighborhood businesses, right? Clearing up some strip malls. COVID did that because it was the awareness of how sound we are operating from a business. And this also can translate to our personal lives. How sound are we operating? Because it's nothing like a pandemic to show you exactly where you're standing in your finances.
Yeah, and I even go back to even looking at our own personal lives as it relates to how our employer pays us. You're being paid to do a specific job. If you do anything outside of that or anything random, you're going to get fired. That dollar that you're receiving as a paycheck is to ensure that you do a specific job, right or wrong. So how many of us would get a paycheck if we decide to go to work and do something outside of what we're supposed to do? The money won't be there. So when we think about how we deploy our funds, it has to be the exact same way with that same intention, to Carmen's point. Operate the same way you operate for your employer. You have to think about it as a CEO of your own life.
You actually absolutely have to.
We interrupt this regular scheduled program to bring you an important message.
Are you struggling to build wealth and feeling stuck in the paycheck to paycheck cycle?
Listen, financial freedom isn't just for the rich. It's about anyone who knows how to play the money game the right way.
And that's exactly why we teach our program called Financial Freedom for Your Whole Life, which is a step-by-step system so that you can start taking control of your money, creating cash, and stop depending on the banks.
So if you're ready to break free and start building real wealth, click on the link and join us today.
Back to our regular scheduled program. The other thing to consider is you cannot measure what you do not track. Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Did somebody hear that? All the way in the back, you cannot measure what you don't track, right? So if you don't have a plan, guess what? There are no benchmarks.
Right.
We're just naked and afraid. That's really what it is. There are no benchmarks.
Yeah, there needs to be a cadence. There has to be a cadence and a level of organization as it relates to what we're trying to accomplish. We have to be able to have conversations with other people, the people that's helping us through this process, be a subject matter expert as it relates to, let's say you're investing in the stock market. You have to be able to have a conversation with the person you're investing with are trying to articulate what you're doing. You have to be able to articulate what you're doing, and that comes a level of understanding, that comes a level of a cadence, that comes a level of education, that comes a level of application of that information, which doesn't happen without us measuring and tracking exactly what we're doing in our results. What are we working towards if we can't see what we're doing?
And it goes back to the point of like, how do you know if your investments are working? How do you know if it's working? How do you know if it's profitable? How do you know if it actually makes sense for you to invest? And let's take it a step back. How do we even know if our income is doing what it needs to do if every dollar doesn't have a job? Right. How do we know if we're profitable? If our household is profitable, if we have no plan and nothing to measure off of?
Yeah. What if you're not at the point where your passive income has replaced your active income, and you come upon a season where you have to dial it back? Now, how will you know if you're not tracking when you have to dial back and how much you have to dial back with your investing needs, depending on the season that you're in? How do you know when you can increase the amount of money that you're investing? Because it's spring in the air, and it's spring in your bank account. You want to increase your investments at that point, but how will you know that you're at that point if you're not tracking your progress? And back to a cadence of when you need to have a meeting with the people in the system.
And let's go back to emotions for a moment. Right? Because the market doesn't care about your emotions.
No.
It never cares about your emotions. We can't base our money off of vibes, off of feelings, off of the hype or whatever was going on in the news. So when we recognize that we could potentially be operating on an emotional system, that's an interesting roller coaster ride to be a part of, especially as it pertains to your finances. And with investing without a plan, we just call it donating. Right? If we're not educated about the action that we're taking, then we're literally just donating money to gambling to the next organization who is actually going to use our money more productively and probably give every dollar a job to the money that's coming in.
Yeah, when you're gambling, isn't it the house rules, or the house always wins?
House always wins.
Yeah, it's the same thing when you're investing in the market. The house rules, house always wins. So you want to, if the house always wins and you understand the rules, then what you want to do is you want to operate in that same vein. You want to understand what you're investing in and what the rules are. So
what we tell our students, Wealth Nation, is all about aligning your values, right? So how do we get on the other side of this? Once we recognize that we're either donating or gambling and we're not giving every dollar a job, what's the solution to this? Well, the solution first and foremost is, I would say, you have to get clear with your values. What are your values? As it pertains to your family and your goals, what do you want? What do you really want to accomplish? What comes from that heart center? What can you tap into? And then taking it from there of understanding how you can align your goals and your vision with a plan, because you actually can do it. You can tell your money what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. But it all starts with that vision and having the alignment and knowing what it is that you want to do, so that you can start directing your money to have a job and fulfill its purpose, so that you can create that financial freedom for yourself.
Yeah, whether it's financial freedom, whether it's early retirement, whether it's legacy planning, what that does is that gives you structure. We have to have structure and a plan in which to get there. Tell me a building that you've seen that didn't have a blueprint.
Good one.
Tell me what furniture you sit on that didn't have a blueprint. Your computer had a blueprint in order for it to be manufactured. Everything around you has a blueprint, so you're no different. What makes you think that you're going to be different in an environment of structure? You have to have a plan, you have to have structure, and having those values aligned with those goals will help you identify the structure you need to get from where you are to where you want to be.
Man, sitting on a sofa will never be the same again. With what you just said, I'm like, the drawing, the intuition that went behind this.
Yeah.
And so we'll have this conversation. Investors, smart investors plan. Everyone else just pays.
Ooh.
Everyone else just pays, So with that,
might drop on that note.
we can just end it here.
Right.
Do you want to be the person who pays? You know, where do you want to be in this equation? Because we're often just funding the successful people.
Right.
with everything that we're doing.
There's space for everybody. Mm-hmm. There's space for everybody. And you can show up to the table without a plan or without a vision or a goal or understand your values. There's still a seat for you. Mm-hmm. There's still a position you can play. Mm-hmm. You're just playing the position of donating your money to the other successful people that have plans.
Mm-hmm. And it just goes back to the point, you know, do you want to be funding? Or do you want, what kind of plan do you want to create? Mm-hmm. Right. So we've planted the seed today. Hopefully you have an understanding of the fact or the awareness that you need to be a smart investor. You need to have a plan. And where do you go from here? Where you go from here, educating yourself, where you go from here is also taking a moment and sitting and asking yourself, what do you want? Because I know for me, I have been highly influenced by what's on social media, by what my friends and family are doing. I have allowed that to significantly influence the things that I thought that I wanted. And it wasn't until I was clear with myself and recognized that I don't want none of that. I don't want to keep up with no Joneses, the Smiths, nobody. There's too much stress and pressure. What does Carmen want? What are the things that make me tick and make me excited and passionate? Get clear on that. And then go give every dollar a job to that intention and the things that you actually want to create value for.
Right. It's hard to create a plan for somebody else's values. It's very difficult. Very difficult.
It's always an uphill battle.
Right. So take the easy route and look at what you want. Put your mask on first. Mm-hmm. Be an example for somebody else.
So Wealth Nation, if you are ready to be intentional, if you are ready to create a plan, then I strongly encourage you to click on the link below and join our live webinar. It's very important for you to create financial freedom for your whole life. So let us help you and support you on this journey to creating financial freedom.
Right. And make sure you own your own lifestyle.
Or someone else will.